if we think about what is emerging and what are the trends in youth work in our sector today, I don't think that there is a unique and single answer. Actually, I've been thinking about this question, and I thought that first of all, for today as a concept, time concept, I've been looking at what happened in our field in the last couple of years, because these are processes that are very long in taking shape and bringing outcomes. So today cannot be just the last few months, and I wouldn't even look at just this weird 2020. I looked a little bit also to what happened earlier, and so I saw different things. Of course, there are many things emerging, and I thought that there are some trends that are more related to the content of youth work, and for instance, content and methods maybe. And of course, it comes to my mind because of my personal interest and my personal geekness, the digital youth work, which is a huge argument. Digital youth work can be the digital tools, can be the reaching out to young people on online or on a mobile centered world and so on. But I also believe that trend has been analyzed and has been explored a lot, especially, of course, this year. And then, of course, again, in terms of content, we started paying a lot of attention to mental health. And even there, of course, it's linked to how things have developed recently with the young people suffering in a special way from what happened this year, what is still happening now. But there is one thing that has, let's say, caught my attention a little bit, which is none of the above. And itself, it's not even so new as a topic, but I felt like it's finally taking real ground, and which is the whole effort of self-awareness of the field toward the better recognition by those who are not in the field. You cannot get external recognition if you're not self-aware of who you are, what you represent, and what you're working for. And it's not a total new thing. It's been a topic for ages. But some very recent trends, I think, are kind of finally bringing results. The youth work has a chance to react and respond to these trends. And of course, the variables and the contexts are really very complicated. There is so many things playing in our sector, especially if we think of it in the international scale. So definitely a lot of things to take into consideration. But I think that the main answer that from the youth work as a field, as a sector, can come to the needs that these trends pose is in engaging not only in, yes, fighting for recognition and moving forward the visibility of the field and so on, but there is a lot of individual responsibility from each youth worker. And since I mentioned one of such organizations, also a responsibility among the organizations that create the community of youth workers at national and international level, there is a responsibility for committing to keeping on learning. I think a crucial thing for each one of us working in this field is to really never think, oh, I know it all, and I can face everything. Because things shift, things change. Our target group changes just by the simple fact that every year there are new young people that we can work with, and some of the old ones are not so young anymore, and there are a constant flow of changes happening. And so if we don't focus on these constant getting updated, learning new things, it will be impossible to keep the pace. Digital, every 6 months software changes. You cannot continue playing the same video game with your participants for more than maybe 6 months. Otherwise, you will just be a boomer. And that, of course, relates also to the mental health topic that I mentioned, and the big processes that started with the convention, the bond process. There is a lot of staying up to the changes, and that, I would say, is the main responsibility. Keep up with the change. Innovation in youth work, it's also not a simple idea to define, and there is a temptation to say, oh, innovation is using the newest tools, and especially this year there has been a lot of talking about the possibility of non-formal education online and so on. On that aspect, I would say that innovation would be a change of mindset among youth workers. I have witnessed, and I strongly believe in the possibility to do non-formal education, to do experiential learning, to do inclusion also online. And it's not a matter of which tool you are using or which app you want to use. It's a matter of actually using some old tricks, old tools from our toolbox, but in a new way. And that I would see it's an innovation. Believing that you can do something that engages your participants, even when you have to overcome physical constraints like you cannot meet. If we give up to frustration and start with the idea, oh no, it's impossible, if we don't hug each other, we will never be able to deliver our work, then we are actually closing our mind and thinking in a way which is not innovative. And it's not a lack of innovation because you're not embracing digital things. Because again, I really stress this point, there's no need for the latest amazing super effects. You could do amazing things using old tools like Skype, for instance. What is really the innovative thing is the innovative thinking. I need to do a group building activity. You can do it. Think, be creative, and come up with amazing stuff that your participants will say, wow, I never thought we could do this over a computer, for instance. And yeah, I stuck just to the digital aspect because that was the hype of this year. But again, I wouldn't confuse innovation with the fact that I know how to use Zoom. I would say innovation is the fact that my participants enjoy coming to a Zoom session, because otherwise they're doing that even too much. Although it's not an easy task, because if I look around at the international projects that I took part in this year, there's been many that at a given point they look like, wow, this is amazingly new. Like when we did the the new format of the training and evaluation cycle of Solidarity Corps volunteers for the Italian National Agency, and there was something that it hadn't been done before, so it was like at that moment it looked like, wow, amazing, new. But then you think back and you realize that most of the projects through this year have been taking that path. So yes, maybe it was innovative, but not many difference with a lot of other projects. So I think that maybe, for at least in my direct experience, a very innovative project is a Key Action 3 project of Erasmus Plus that we are running. It's a national Key Action 3 project, so it involves only Italian young people across several regions of Italy, which makes it quite intercultural. And I think at the end of this very weird year, that I can trace some innovative path, innovative actions in this project, because I can compare it with the context. We're talking about a project that has started and is developing through the lockdown period of the second wave of COVID, and a lot of our activities have been moved online. But then we managed to create something blended, because working with groups of small communities, local villages, we have more chances to even meet with them in person, of course, on the open air, with the personal distances. So what was innovative in this project, at least compared to frustrations of this year, was the level of engagement and enthusiasm of these young participants, because they want to do it. They really want to do it. Maybe it's a need for them to get out of their personal lockdown, even the online activities, connecting them with other young people, but still giving them the chance to work locally in their small group, has created this mix, that the famous blended learning that we've been talking a lot about. It was hard to realize internationally because of not international mobilities, but locally we were able to do this blended mobility. So I think it gave us an opportunity to test and to confirm that blended learning is a good idea, it's working, and it has probably a lot of potentials in the next future. Well, I think the Academy already has an original idea on its first edition, but then probably even more with its next steps and developments. I think the Academy can play a crucial role, because consider the whole bond process that just started, and consider what I said earlier about the biggest novelty in our field. I mentioned it more than once, that what is very a key thing that is going on, it's the development of a stronger sense of awareness, sense of belonging, sense of community, of practice, and so on, and a great tool for pushing that even farther and transforming it into practical outcomes at the local level, just as at the international level, is to support youth workers and the whole community and stakeholders in their further development. And this cannot happen every 5 years with the conventions, because that's too long of a period. It might be the perfect period for assessing the results, but not the kind of time that you want to have between one learning step to the next. And the Academy can play a crucial role in that, in supporting further learning, further innovation, and further awareness of where innovation is happening and how you can foster it even further. I think that a practical contribution from the academy to our field, and I know that maybe it might be wishful thinking, I might be over optimistic or naive, but I like to think, in an ambitious, think big. I think the academy could aim at becoming a real academy, but not meaning that what we do in our field is not real learning. Of course, and you know how much I'm a partisan of non-formal learning, but I think that the concept of academy does not belong necessarily only to the higher education or formal field. I think that if you think about really the meaning of the word academy, that can easily be something that fits in our field, but it could use maybe a bit more of a structured timeline, continuity, to become a resource that people, especially young youth workers, young trainers, facilitators in our field, can look up to and say, I know that is the resource that I can use to improve my competences, my tools, and to learn about what's going on around me, and how I can turn that into practical, positive experiences in my local reality. Because it is also true that a big share of our world is more involved in local youth work. Of course, we focus a lot on international youth work, but what you can get from the international field or from just other local realities and bring back home needs a bridge from those other localities to yours. And the academy could be that, a bridge that focus on the learning process, not necessarily on the single tool. For those things, we have the tool fair, we have so many other examples, but something that can become a learning path. Well, I think that youth workers, stakeholders, I would like to think that the viewers of these podcasts are the variety of actors that play specific roles in our community. And I think for each one of those roles, there would be the need and the opportunity to interact and get engaged with the academy. And I can think of many examples. A young youth worker could look up to the academy as the starting point for their professional growth. I was already mentioned, but even old ones like me, if we take for good what I was saying earlier about constant making sure that you are up to the changes and up to the evolution of the field, would definitely be able to find in the academy something like that. But then that goes for every role, decision makers and so on. It would be a good thing if the academy process, instead of maybe waiting for things to get better, could start really kicking off, thinking in terms of blended approach. So maybe starting online somehow. There are so many opportunities, and we've learned that. Starting online and putting as a goal in time and even as a motivational for participants, the moment when finally we will meet, share face-to-face, in-person, in-presence experience. It could even be just the end and the closing of the circle of this year's academy. But since I'm optimistic and I think the academy is going to last for many years, It could be just the end of one circle and the beginning of new one. But again, let's embrace the possibilities offered by a blended approach, and let's get the academy going as soon as possible, because we need it.